This final chapter, Chapter 4, contains 6 quiz questions to test your understanding of the materials covered in this module. Question 1. A bank uses the following time buckets in its GAAP report. As of today, January 1st, 2010, the bank has the following interest-sensitive assets. $10 million overnight placement with other financial institutions, 5-year linearly amortized fixed-rate loan booked on June 1, 2007 with initial principal amount of $50 million, 10-year Treasury bond with $100 million face value purchased at par on its issue date of March 1st, 2000. 3-year linearly amortized floating rate loan booked on September 1, 2009 with original principal amount of $60 million and paying 6-month LIBOR plus 50 basis points. And finally, 10-year fixed-rate bullet mortgage loan booked on June 1, 2009 with original principal amount of $100 million. The bank expects prepayments of 10% of outstanding principal annually over the life of the loan. The total assets in the 1 day to 3 month, 3 months to 1 year, and greater than 2 year buckets are, and here are the 4 permissible answers. Solution to question 1. We slot each of the assets in the GAAP report as follows. The $10 million overnight placement is slotted in the overnight bucket. For the 5-year linearly amortized fixed-rate loan, the remaining maturity is 2 years and 5 months, and the outstanding principal is $30 million. The $30 million is slotted as $10 million in 5 months, which falls into the 3 month to 1 year bucket, $10 million in 1 year and 5 months, which falls into the 1 year to 2 year bucket, and $10 million in 2 years and 5 months, which falls into the greater than 2 year bucket. For the 10-year U.S. Treasury bond with $100 million face value, purchased at par on its issue date of March 1, 2000. The remaining maturity is 2 months, so the face value of $100 million is slotted in the 1 day to 3 month bucket. The 3-year linearly amortized floating rate loan booked on September 1, 2009 with an original principal amount of $60 million pays 6-month LIBOR plus 50 basis points. So as a floating rate loan, it is slotted according to its next repricing date, which is March 1, 2010. So in the 1 day to 3 month bucket. The 10-year bullet mortgage loan, being a fixed-rate loan, is slotted in accordance with its remaining maturity, which is 9 years and 5 months. However, the bank expects prepayments of 10% of outstanding principal annually over the life of the loan, which are taken into consideration when preparing the GAAP report. Therefore, $10 million is considered to come due in 5 months' time, i.e. the 3 month to 1 year bucket. $9 million, 10% of the then outstanding principal of $90 million, in the 1 year and 5 month time period, hence the 1 year to 2 year bucket, and the remaining 81 million in the greater than 2 year bucket. Thus, aggregating all positions, we get this gap report here. Therefore, the correct answer is A. Question 2. Assume the bank in question 1 has the following interest-sensitive liabilities. 10 million of interbank money market deposits with an average maturity of 1 month. $50 million of 6-month CDs issued at par on December 1, 2009. 5-year fixed rate bond issued at par on January 1, 2009 with a face value of $110 million. And finally, 100 million of demand deposits with an estimated 90% core portion and a volatile portion of 10%. The cumulative gaps as percentages of total assets for the 1 day to 3 month, 3 month to 1 year, and greater than 2 year buckets are, and here are the 4 permissible answers. Solution to question 2. We slot each of the liabilities in the gap report as follows. The 10 million of interbank money market deposits are slotted as per their 1 month contractual maturity, which means the 1 day to 3 month bucket. The 50 million of 6-month CDs are treated similarly. Since they were issued on December 1, their contractual maturity falls in 5 months, which corresponds to the 3 month to 1 year bucket. The 5-year fixed rate bond is slotted as per its remaining maturity, 4 years in this case, which corresponds to the more than 2 year bucket. The 100 million demand deposits are slotted as per their volatile core assumption, with the 10% volatile portion slotted in the overnight bucket and the 90% core portion in the more than 2 year bucket. Aggregating all liabilities gives us this. We now calculate the gaps, cumulative gaps, and cumulative gaps as a percentage of total assets by aggregating assets and liabilities in the same report as follows. The cumulative gaps as percentages of total assets for the 1 day to 3 month, 3 month to 1 year, and more than 2 year buckets are therefore 50%, 40%, and 10%, and therefore the correct answer is C. Question 3. Still using the data in question 2, assume the institution's limits on cumulative gaps as percentages of total assets are as follows. Which of the following strategies assures compliance with the limits? Here are the 4 permissible answers. Solution to question 3. we proceed to include each of these in the gap report alternatively and calculate the resulting cumulative gaps as percentages of total assets. Here is the outcome if we use the FRA. Here is the outcome if we use the 5-year pay-fixed IRS. Here is the outcome if we use the 5-year receive-fixed IRS. And finally, here is the outcome if we use the 3-year receive-fixed IRS. Therefore, the correct answer is D as in David. Question 4. Assume the bank in question 3 adopted the correct strategy and thus ended up with the following gaps. Assuming each gap amount is spread evenly across its time bucket, the impact of a 100 basis point upward shift on the bank's expected net interest income over the next 12 months using the actual 360 day count convention would be, here are the 4 permissible answers. Solution to question 4. Since each gap amount is spread evenly across its time bucket, we assume a repricing date falling on the bucket's midpoint. We now calculate the impact of the 100 basis point shift on expected net interest income over the next 12 months using the actual 360 convention. The only affected buckets are those ending within the 12-month horizon. Therefore, the following table summarizes the calculations. And therefore, the correct answer is A. Question 5. Consider the following simplified bank balance sheet. Current zero coupon rates using a semi-annual compounding and actual 360 day count convention are shown here. Assuming that the maximum behavioral maturity for assets and liabilities is capped at 2 years, the market value of equity and the modified duration of equity are, here are the 4 permissible answers. Worksheet Q5 solution shows the necessary steps in the required calculations. We first calculate the discount factors and 6-month LIBOR forwards to be used in the next steps. Then the market value and modified duration of each asset is calculated in the table underneath. The market value and modified duration of total assets are calculated in cells Q18 and Q19. We now repeat the same calculations for liabilities in this third table. To obtain in cells P29 and P30 the market value and modified duration for total liabilities. Finally, the market value and modified duration of equity are programmed in cells P33 and P34 and reveal values of 26,146,910 and minus 2.66. Therefore, the answer is A, as an apple. Question 6. Using the same inputs as in question 5 and applying the Basel standardized model, the net weighted position of the banking book is. Here are the 4 permissible answers. Obviously, you should start from worksheet BIS Simple BS and make appropriate amendments rather than going straight to the worksheet Q6 solution. Worksheet Q6 solution sets forth the necessary calculations. We slot assets in the maturity ladder starting in cell J21. Each asset is slotted as per its repricing tenor. We do the same for liabilities starting in J38. Finally, we apply the Basel methodology, aggregating all assets and liabilities in these cells O4 to O16, then applying the weighting factors stipulated in the rules. The net position of the banking book is programmed in this cell P17 and reveals a value of negative $1,075,800. Therefore, the correct answer is C as in Charles.